Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bald Don't Lie podcast. Of course, this episode is a presentation of TunyBet Online Sportsbook Casino. I'm Samson Folk. I'm joined by Louis Zatzman. We're the two baldies talking ball. We're here to talk about the fact that Jakob Poetl has been running roughshod over opposing front courts, the center position at large in the NBA, the Raptors starters, and a little bit of Jakob Poetl. Louis, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, thank you. I feel like for a stretch there in the season, material was hard to come by, but it feels meatier these days. Feels like there's more going on in the world of the Raptors.
Looking back at the comments, that was, Darko said, Jakob Poetl is our trade deadline acquisition. I know it's that's a little bit of Trey's avenue of like, hey, that's a little bit of spin. But what do you think of it looking at it now?
Sure looks like it. He's been phenomenal. Last 3 games, 21, 18, and 5, 17, 8, and 2, 23, 11, and 2. Just looking like a star center for 3 games in a row.
A star center. Also, I've seen this conversation crop up, but Donkey says, was hoping you guys might grow with the hairlines for this one in honor of Jakob's play as of late. The Raptors have 2 white guys who probably have very similar hairlines to us, but they comb it forward. Sandro?
Wait.
Sandro.
Okay, yeah, Sandro.
If you like a gust of wind, it might go somewhere.
Who's the other?
Jakob.
Truly?
He
looks so full-headed. I've never seen up there. He's so tall.
This is a shocking lack of perception from you, sir. Wow. Okay, I guess. Anyway, take the lead. This is your topic. This is what you want to talk about, not his hairline, but his play.
Yeah. So watching Jakob Poetl play the last couple games, I was thinking, wow, the Raptors missed center play and survived. And now they finally have it, and it does change the team. And I wanted to talk about what he gives that's different, how it impacts the team, but also what a center means in today's NBA. It feels like the position is fractured. It's being pulled. It's like the universe itself sort of expanding in different directions. A lot going on in the center position the last year or two as the NBA accelerates away from itself. And I wanted to chat about what that means, how value can be found in what different ways, and how that all sort of allows a prism through which you can see the Raptors.
And interestingly enough, we were just talking a little bit before we recorded. You and I have vastly different views on what investment or like buy-in looks like at the center position from a team building concept league-wide, which is, an exciting. You and I, we don't disagree that much, but when we do, hey, this.
When we do, it's always by small degrees.
Yeah, the Fred VanVleet stuff of yesteryears. Wow, we used to just be like elbow deep trying to figure out the smallest of differences. So Jakob, I guess, set out for us. He changes the Raptors. He makes them better. Tangibly, what are you seeing, and why is it so important?
He rolls and keeps a passing window
and
then finishes. And this is the most important part. Finishes everything he gets his mitts on. If you just think about, let's say, effective field goal percentage, because I wanted to take out free throws. Just if a possession ends with a guy shooting a shot, you'd think, well, 3-point shooter is what you want. And usually that's true. Immanuel Quickley's effective field goal percentage is a little low this year, but 54.3, that's fine. Jamison Battle, Sandro Mamukelashvili are really, really high, both at 60, 61%. They've been super efficient when they shoot because they're great 3-point shooters. But the Raptors leader in effective field goal percentage, Jakob Poetl, at basically 70%. If a play ends with the ball in his hands, it is points on the board. And let's say he shoots 10 times. That's 10 shots that are not being funneled elsewhere. And if the gap is like, 70% versus 60%, which is very good, those 10 percentage points, it's like 0.2 points. That's 2 full points, right? Just by virtue of him shooting 10 times and another guy not. And I know that's really simplistic, obviously. That's not how basketball actually works. But it actually was the reason why I wanted to talk about this. To me, and you always called this low-hanging fruit, and it was something the Raptors were not able to pluck with their centers of yesteryear, the Aaron Baineses, Colin Gillespie's, the Kem Birches. They were not efficient scorers. And Jakob Poetl very much is. The low-hanging fruit for center, I think the seed from which all center play grows is you have to be an efficient guy when it comes to putting the ball in the basket because you're super close to it. So just put it right in the net there. And it's been good. It's been really good from Poetl recently.
I think to also bolster your point, Jakob is limited to finishing around the rim, but he is not limited to catching around the rim.
Yes.
He has a lot of guile and suave when it comes to working his way downhill with his footwork and also timing up opposing bigs to be able to finish at the rim. And also he is one of, as you mentioned, he rolls. He is not dependent on getting a ball handler getting super deep, drawing a big completely over and a shovel pass or a lob, something like that. Like maybe a Nick Claxton, who was a very sexy target for Raptors fans and should be for a lot of teams. He's still a good player, but you get my meaning. Jakob can catch from 18 feet away, and by manipulating with his footwork and his craft, he's able to get to, probably within 7 feet consistently. You have something.
And if you think about what would happen when another big catches at about 18 feet or 8 feet, anywhere within that range, Scotty Barnes, it's pretty much money in the bank, just like Poetl. But the other bigs, like Colin Murray-Boyles, for example, it's either going to be a much less efficient shot from that big, or it's a kick out to a shooter, which, again, is way less efficient than Poetl just putting it up. Like, the play just progresses in a way more beneficial way because he's able to do that.
Yeah. And if a team loads up or something, I think that Jakob's playmaking via the pass was always quite overrated.
Yes.
I've harped on the top-down passing stuff for too long, but his ability to move into the next action if he catches a pocket pass and nothing is available via Chicago, Zoom, anything like this, handoff situations, he can move them through actions and flip the side of the floor pretty easily. It's why he's a huge cog in what the Raptors do in the half court and how they move through things. Obviously, they've done a great job this year of scoring with Scotty at the 5. Boy, do they score with Scotty at the 5. But there is a level of balance that Jakob brings when he's doing this kind of stuff. Also, ND, Joseph, hello, fellas. Glad you're doing well.
I was just about to say the same. Hey, guys.
Exactly. And not only that, but Jakob clearly lately has added not just the element of craft and scoring and efficiency in a way that the Raptors, you also didn't mention Precious Achiuwa, who the Raptors had to work a bunch of different ways to get scoring out of, but he is just vastly different in terms of efficiency. The Raptors need efficiency desperately from their point guard position in terms of three-point shooting. They need efficiency desperately from their center position in terms of at-rim finishing. And when this team wins and when they punch up against good opponents, typically those two things are clicking. Jakob, I guess to frame it in terms of should we be expecting this level of play that we've been seeing going forward? I don't think I do, not this level, but where are you on it? I thought it was the super soldier serum. I don't know how he's been shot out of a cannon, man.
I mean, parts of his play for sure. Yeah. I think the rebounding 18, 8, 11 for sure. And
even the 8, he played 22 minutes maybe that game. He hardly played.
And he's also averaging under 8 a game this year, which is his lowest since 2019-20. The rebounding being this much level higher from his season average for sure. I think we can expect that. Another element we can expect to stick around. I mean, if he's moving well, and he has been for several games in a row, I think that level of agility I think we can put it in the bank going forward. I mean, I hope I'm right. But you even see the Raptors switched him against everyone, against the Denver Nuggets. He was guarding Jamal Murray at times. Now, it didn't always go well, but that's something that just wasn't even an option earlier in the year, even before. I mean, yes, when he was sitting, of course, that wasn't an option. But before, when he was playing with that back injury, he couldn't do that then either. The thing that probably won't stick around is the shot attempts, 12, 10, 14, probably more like 8. I think you can generally expect from him. When he gets up to 14, that to me is like you're really stretching the bounds of how much you can funnel towards him. But a lot of it, maybe not in terms of volume, but just in terms of quality, I do think can be put in the bank going forward.
Yeah. And to your point about rebounding, like the raw numbers are down, but he's playing almost 4 minutes a game less. He's playing much less than usual, and his offensive rebounding percentage is up, which is really important.
Yeah.
And
Huge.
to not to go back to the, Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams 2016-17 stuff, but it does need to be brought up. The Raptors are actually a pretty great offense when they start transition off of a live rebound. And one of the biggest correlations that the Raptors have with that being better and that being higher frequency is Scotty Barnes being on the floor. And part of that is Scotty Barnes getting rebounds and moving the ball up floor with a live dribble or an outlet pass in a way that Jakob Poetl just doesn't, in a way that most players on the roster don't. And so Poetl being more of a box out guy, clear out space guy for guys like Brandon Ingram, but Scotty especially, I think moves the Raptors into a stronger place. And the raw rebound numbers, they say like maybe it's a down year. But I think while he's been on the floor, it has still been like a big boon to the Raptors. And something that they have to really focus on being able to do this when they get to the playoffs. This is something they can't lose. And this is one of the ways for a team that isn't efficient offensively. How do you carve out these extra possessions and take away others from opponents? Jakob Poetl is a significant cog in their possession battle. I don't know if you agree or not, but I think that's probably the most important role he plays.
I do. A really interesting question from Donkey there. Who's the better center moving forward? Myles Turner, Jakob Poetl. We're going to get to that. I want to talk about the center player on the league. But first, let's sort of plant our flag in Jakob's play now before we compare. I think it's really important for the Raptors to have 2 rim protectors and rebounders on the floor at all times. We've seen their defense just unable to survive when there's one, even a very successful rim protector. When you're contesting, you need teammates to clean the glass behind you. And we saw that with Mobo last year, even though his defense was phenomenal, when he was switching, just no one could clean the glass behind him. And that's a real issue when you play small. Not that the small center can't rebound, but who else can rebound when they're actually contesting a shot? We've seen that this year with Colin Murray-Boyles. And part of the reason he and Scotty have been so successful together is that one of them can clean the glass for the other. And that's something that Poetl does. Not only does he help Barnes rebound, but he actually helps Barnes contest as the helper so that Poetl can rebound. It's really important and something he gives value. And I think it speaks what you're saying about that possession game. He just wins stuff that doesn't go in the box score. He wins screens. He Gortat screens, which really helps Quickly. Like Quickly and Barrett, their play is massively improved by the presence of Poetl. They're better passers. They're better scorers. They're better drivers. They're better shooters. All of that really, lane clearing from Yosef. That's a really good phrase to put on. His lane clearing is crazy. He is a very good center when he's healthy. And I think a lot of people forgot about what it could look like with this lineup because he was out for so long and didn't look like himself.
I think a really interesting aspect of Jakob is that he so clearly is the avenue to the Raptors being a strong, good team, but also considering their strengths and who their best players are, he is perhaps a capper on them being a great team and eventually having to try and look elsewhere. These are huge questions for the Raptors and things that you and I probably can't capably answer or confidently answer on the podcast today. But it is in terms of basketball philosophy is very interesting. Jakob is just damn good. As you mentioned, as Joseph mentioned, clearing the lane, being able to score in the short mid-range in a way that a lot of bigs in the NBA today, they don't operate there. They're not so comfortable. It is true that he is not at all comfortable beyond that range, but his comfort with the floater is actually a lot more comfortable than most even shooting bigs are. That 11-foot push shot that he's pretty good at. Actually, I should look at the stats on this once I swing it back to you. But his comfort in all the things he does is a huge boon to the Raptors. And while he has significant limitations in terms of basketball from a center and not having a good shooting team, I think it's probably easier to try in the short-term future to answer those questions elsewhere than it is through development and perhaps trades than it is to move off of like a Jakob who, it was like for the same reason that everyone was like, I don't know about Sabonis. Even though the
Yeah.
Raptors, technically you think about him as an upgrade to Jakob, you think about it and you say, well, how much of an upgrade? There are some things he doesn't do as well as Jakob. He makes a lot more money. And also on top of that, Jakob's value is like at an all-time low. When he is a good center, and it's important to never get away from the fact that Jakob is good.
So I think the way that I understand center play, or at least have been trying to since yesterday when I came up with this idea, is, we got Zulfi, man. The answer, man. Sufficient and necessary conditions. So just a short aside, one of my other sort of jobs is I'm an LSAT tutor, and there's a concept of sufficiency versus necessity. And a sufficient condition will always cause the result, right? Whereas a necessary condition, you need it, but it doesn't cause. And so you think about individual skills as a center. What do you need to be a successful center versus what can actually cause you to be a lot better? And I'm glad you brought up Precious Achiuwa, because something that you and I believed a lot in Precious, or at least looked at
He's been putting up crazy numbers in Sacramento, by the way. Also, to Zulfi's stat, so this is the synergy tracks per layups and runners. He's shooting 47% on runners. The location data stuff is in the 51%. It's probably including some layups, because it's where the ball is picked up is how they track it rather than the shot type. So, but I mean, 47% on as a release valve, pretty good. And he shoots 80% on his layups. 80% on his layups, as crazy as that is. 100% on the dunks as well. Pretty good.
And so I think something I've been considering for centers is ball handling. I think you need ball handling to be a star. As a center, you need to be able to get where you want to go by yourself. That's something that Nikola Jokic, people don't really talk about, really can maneuver his way around the court. Joel Embiid and Precious Achiuwa can do that a little bit. He has got movement skills, whereas Jakob Poetl has none of it. He has no capacity to move himself around the court. But what Precious Achiuwa lacked was that concept of the low-hanging fruit efficiency. And that's where Jakob Poetl brings it in spades, which I wanted to sort of open that up to the question. You said maybe he sets a floor, but also a ceiling. What other abilities would you want to lift that ceiling from a center?
Okay, I will answer that question. But first, I will say that this segment is a presentation of Lotto Max, calling all Raptors fans. Lotto Max and the Raptors have officially launched their Max Contract fan contest, where one winner will be given the chance to call all the shots and personalize their own prize worth $50,000 Canadian. What prize can you choose from? How about 2026-27 season tickets or courtside tickets to 5 games next season, or a chance to attend all the home games of the playoffs this year? You can visit the Raptors app to learn more and enter today. And don't forget to opt into their emails to hear about future chances to win. No purchase necessary. 18 plus Ontario only. Ends March 29th, 2026. Grand prize winner to select from one prize from each of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Visit the Toronto Raptors app for full contest rules, prize details, and how to enter. So, what makes a star center? I think a star in their role, you can look at Jared Allen. He's not exactly the archetype of Jakob Poetl, but there's a lot of overlap there. I hate to be a bit of a jackass, and I will answer your like skill set thing. But what makes a star center in this NBA for me is a lack of investment a lot of times. A star center is a star in his role, and a star center is someone who really helps command the center position in terms of size, protecting the rim, finishing efficiently. And if you can get that guy for really cheap, you can really, really build a team well, because that guy is putting you in such a comfortable position in terms of winning minutes and having that guy where you need him in lineups. Now, if you want a star center, the burden is almost too much. It is incredibly difficult to be a convincing and dominant star center in the NBA. Even, and this is the point that we'll get to, which I always think about, but Karl Anthony Towns is a great example. He is one of the great front court shooters. You can pick all of the talents that he has. He has incredible touch. There's a couple positions he is unbelievably elite at driving against. He does have a handle to some degree, but there are still too many holes. And the fact that he is a star compels the team to dedicate a large portion of the cap to him. And then you come up against his weaknesses. And big man weaknesses, I don't know why, but coaches are far worse at protecting against big man weaknesses than they are at protecting against wing weaknesses or guard weaknesses in my position. Perhaps that's a lack of imagination, but I feel like I'm pointing to the status quo and what is currently happening. I don't know if I have the imagination to point at how teams fix this, but a big man gets hunted. I don't know if it's the Moby Dick of it all, that like the big thing is the thing you look at first. But I do think if you are going to invest in a big at a high level, it has to be unbelievable. It has to be Wemby with the first round overall pick. But I think in general, most of the best teams in the NBA either have that like generational big man who is without a doubt a Hall of Famer, or they have cheap piecemeal center play and they spend the money elsewhere. And I think that's a problem in terms of how teams build. That's my answer on that.
What teams are those? Who has cheap piecemeal center play?
I mean,
among the best teams in the league,
the Spurs. The Spurs are very cheap, like very, very.
But
cheap.
number one overall pick. I mean, he will be.
Okay, so you could say the Pistons are very cheap right now with Duren and Stewart, and they're
sorry, but what your definition was either monetary or pick investment. Duren wasn't. He was a very high draft pick.
He's 13th. It's not super high.
Okay, fair.
It's like you can have expectations of the 13th pick, but it's not super high. Stewart was 16th. The Celtics, who are great, and their front court is typically saved by the dynamism of Jason Tatum, and we might see that in playoffs. Nemish Queta, Luka Garza, Sam Hauser, Vucevic, who is a little bit more expensive, and was a 16th overall pick back in the day, but they didn't have to give much for him. The Knicks, they have the one generational big, Cat, but then it's Mitchell Robinson, Huck Porty, and then wings playing the power forward position. The Cavs, a steal of a deal on Allen's contract and on him in trade. Mobley was a generational big prospect. The Magic, their front court, they don't know what to do with it. Wendell Carter Jr., 7th overall, hasn't really delivered on the center position the way many people want. The Thunder, they were able to pay Isaiah Hartenstein, who was a part of quite a few great teams, underpaid, because they were so cheap elsewhere. And Chet Holmgren is part of that. Like, the only reason they could give Hartenstein $30 million is because Shea was making like 30-something. Jalen Williams was on a rookie scale. Everybody's on a rookie scale. Spurs, Wemby, Cornette. The Lakers have Ayton, who is on, a minimum right now. Jackson Hayes. The Rockets, they have trouble with their center position right now because of Şengün's limitations, now that they're not, beasting on the possession differential with Steven Adams, who's on like a minimum with them. Jabari was a super high pick, but they don't feel like they're getting a high return on that. The Nuggets, Jokic, they invested a second-round pick in him and then obviously pay him as a generational player. The Wolves is Rudy Gobert, who is loved in the data, of course. Naz Reid was a second-round pick. Usually there is this mix of like, I don't know. Donkey, I'm saying, Karl Anthony Towns was considered a generational prospect, and he was. Believe it or not, Karl Anthony Towns was like a legendary defender at Kentucky. I don't know how to explain it, but if you were there, I'm saying the perception of these guys. The center position does not stack the same way that a lot of other places do, is the way I'm seeing it.
You described a lot of teams with really, really good bigs who are on rookie contracts.
Yeah.
A lot of the best teams, I mean, but that's just true of, you kind of need one of your best players to be on a rookie deal.
I guess
to
who's on a
really
rookie
build a great
contract?
team now.
Chet and Wemby. That's it.
Yeah.
Of all the players,
That's-
that's 2 out of like 18 guys I listed. That's not a lot.
Yeah, I think the teams that really spoke to me were the Celtics and the Lakers, obviously,
Yeah.
who've built around just cheap piecemeal, like you said.
Can I just say quickly too? Kyle Lowry did this for the Raptors when they won. Like obviously Marc Gasol came in, but having players who can make functional bigs into more is unbelievable.
But I don't know if there's like, the trend line to me was very versatile there.
Yeah,
Some of the best teams have very high paid centers like Karl Anthony Towns and Jokic. Some of the best teams have very high picked centers like Wemby and Chet. Some of the teams have not. I mean, I don't think there was a trend there that everyone is getting underpaid.
Yeah, it's basically either you go cheap or you get a generational pick. Chet, Wemby, 1, 2, Cat, 1. Jokic was 41st, but eventually got a max contract. Like,
yeah,
so no one's
overpaying an under-talented big among the best teams. But that's probably true of most positions, right? I doubt any of those best teams are overpaying an under-talented wing or guard either.
I don't know. I would think yes, like the Knicks, they way overpay Bridges, like way overpay. The Celtics, I'm going to say that Jaylen Brown.
But
the Pistons give Tobias Harris like $27 million, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm bogging us down.
Rule. What I see is not a rule, which actually speaks to what I think is, in many ways, you can be a really impressive big in a lot of different ways. Because among all those guys you described, there's a lot. I mean, if you're going to be a guard in today's NBA, there's a lot of overlap. You need to be able to get where you want to go with your handle. You need to be a pull-up shooter, create for other. Like, there's a lot that you need in the same package that everyone has. Whereas a center, what you just described among everyone, like what do Rudy Gobert, for example, and Karl Anthony Towns really have in common? You know, or someone like Neemias Queta versus Isaiah Hartenstein. There's a lot of ways to succeed on the court, contract aside. And that's, I think, like, so if the Raptors are going to find their ceiling lifted through a different center, sure, underpay. Sure, agreed. But other than that, in terms of actual on the court value, do you think a big who is has more self-creation, who's a more switchable defender, who is a shooter, who's more of a passer, like what actually among all those other archetypes of success do you think would work best with the Raptors?
I think what the Raptors are missing clearly is a star, whether it's at the guard position or a front court player next to Scottie. And that's why where the Raptors are in terms of team building is tough, because they don't have the money to pursue that. They would have to trade, and we've talked about their fragile ecosystem before. The balance is tough to strike. And again, we spent the first 12 minutes or 14 minutes talking about like Jakob Poetl is a damn good player. He is. But the whole thing about like the team building thing is that there are damn good players who approximate maybe 90%, 85% of what he's bringing, who will make maybe not that might make like, I don't know, 5 times less or something like that. And that those guys consistently show up as available if, 1, a team is able to identify them, and 2, they have the play elsewhere on the court to make these bigs viable. And it goes back to this thing where I'm saying bigs get hunted, and it's why having a variable or diverse front court in the playoffs is exceptionally important. You want to be able to change the way you're able to play defensively and offensively, and most people flip that through their front court, not through the back court. Most people don't want to change their ball handlers, And that's why the big men who can get played off the court or who can get played into different spaces because of their limitations on offense or defense, it might be like, this isn't Rudy's stretch of the game. We got to go to Nas. And when that was Rudy making close to a max or maybe a max, and Nas was, still on his second round contract, that's a huge swing in terms of pay and prestige without much in terms of contract. Whereas the Raptors, as we talked about, Jakob is the difference between them being a big team and a small team. He has a huge impact, but the swing is like, it's a little bit different in terms of high achieving teams. And we'll see that probably play out in the playoffs, I think, too. But the Raptors, they need a star. And if they have a star guard, then you have to be like, oh my God, this guy, how much does Jakob help a star guard? Probably a lot. Is it as important as it was when he was helping Emmanuel or RJ get past some of their limitations? I don't know. Does it mean that you don't have to have as much utility from the center position because you don't need a big man who takes the ball from 18 feet to the rim as much anymore because you have a star guard who is delivering, layups to guys? Like that's the dynamic I'm mostly speaking about. It's a little bit, obtuse. I do get your point, but this is, I guess that's my perspective on it.
Well, I think Colin Murray-Boyles will work. I mean, the two haven't actually played at their best in a single game together, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think one or the other has been injured pretty much the entire, or just like playing injured. When Murray-Boyles comes back, which one of us is the father, which one of us is the son?
Someone's devastated.
When Murray-Boyles comes back, if Poeltl is still playing at this position, that could give them a really valuable sort of 1-2 punch in terms of style. One that could be really successful in the playoffs, for example, giving them the matchups they want at different times of the game. Something I'm really excited to see. And I agree with you. I think Poeltl is probably more valuable on a team without a star guard. That is a really interesting point about him. He can bring like an adequate guard up to more successful like point guardery ability because of his skills. Yeah. If you had like prime Damian Lillard, Jakob Poeltl gives you less.
Yeah, I guess the thing you would say is that it's the Steven Adams on the Rockets thing too. Steven Adams was so essential to helping their quite limited guards and wings create space to create. And when he went off, suddenly that creation just craters on the Rockets. And a guy like Damian Lillard, what is the difference for Damian or prime Damian Lillard? What is the difference between, let's say, Dame plus random big man, like Dame plus Nemish Keita and Dame plus Jakob? It might not be that much. One, because Dame doesn't care about the pocket pass as much because he's smoking from downtown. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. It is, and again, it's the front half of the podcast. Jakob is very good. And the Raptors currently, if they could, like when LaMelo Ball was available, I was like, hey, I'd like to press that button through some instrument of trade. Because this Raptors team, if they keep their front court of Scottie, Jakob, CMB, that front court pairs really well, I think, in a playoff grinder if you have a star guard orchestrating elsewhere. It protects your star guard, who probably won't be very good at defense. It scores efficiently. It's diverse in how it can defend. It's diverse in how it scores. This team is ready for a star trade if it's in the backcourt. And I know they made a quote-unquote star trade for Brandon last year, and I know he made an all-star team, but if they can do something akin to what the Cavs pulled off in getting Donovan Mitchell, then I think this is a team that for the next however many years would be consistently in conversations for the Eastern Conference Finals, and then it becomes about cleaning stuff up for beyond that.
Donovan Mitchell would be pretty nice. I agree.
Oh, man, wouldn't he? I couldn't believe it. I was doing a podcast with Jackson Frank, and that happened live, and we were both just like, oh, how did they get Donovan Mitchell?
So speaking about what centers, given what the Raptors currently have, because I agree, if they were to get a superstar guard, it does change what you want from a center. A center who I think would fit really nicely, if you just look at centers who drive the ball a ton, because that, I think, really would help some of the Raptors' weaknesses, particularly the front court partner in Scotty Barnes. Lauri Markkanen, speaking about the Donovan Mitchell trade, right? The guy who went back, he actually drives as much or more than almost any other big in the league. He's right in that second tier behind like Julius Randle and Sengun and Mobley. Like he's right behind them. Obviously a lights out shooter. He is very different in terms of what he offers than Poeltl. I think a lot of the almost opposites. A lot of Poeltl skills are absent from Markkanen. A lot of Markkanen skills in much more obvious ways are absent from Poeltl. The Raptors tried that with Kelly Olynyk in like the absolute dollar store budget version of a big who can drive, pass, and shoot. And I thought even though the numbers weren't bad, there were moments when Olynyk and Barnes looked like they were something together. But the Raptors, I agree, Poeltl, for all of his success, might not be the ideal sort of enmeshing partner with Scotty Barnes.
Yeah. It is also important to say, to come to Poeltl's defense here a little bit, that it is up to Scotty as a young max star to improve and develop so that Jakob Poeltl, who is 30, that he doesn't have to try and change his game, or that we become less concerned with what Jakob Poeltl's limitations are, because he is good. Now, the contract, listen, this podcast, we've wrung the hands, we've shaken fists about the extension, and that's all good and fine. Lauri Markkanen, if you're trading for Lauri, just considering how much off-ball usage he gets and how much like screen usage he gets, I think to maximize the team, and I understand Brandon Ingram has a very big fan base, a very opinionated people. I think Brandon Ingram going the other way would make the team the best it could be. And creation from the front
flare
court,
screens can one team run?
Yeah. Creation from the front court. It's the same reason why Quickly was traded for in the first place, was the Raptors had an expectation of more top-down creation from Scotty Barnes, more wing creation, let's say, whereas Barnes has played a lot like a forward this year. Markkanen probably would help the Raptors rely less on Emmanuel Quickly as a driver. And even if he was driving, you're probably getting more wide open gaps, and so would Scotty Barnes. Sophia Serrano, who did not say which one of us was the child, says these non-defensive bigs like Sengun and Lauri are a Ponzi scheme. I think Sengun is a bigger Ponzi scheme than Lauri, but defense is important in the front court for the same reason we talked about the front, which is that these guys get hunted with vigor, Lewis.
Which is why Jakob Poeltl is way better than Myles Turner. I think there's one skill Myles Turner does better. It's shooting. And I mean, Tyrese Halliburton just so happened to be able to maximize Myles Turner to like a great extent. But Poeltl is a farce. It's in a lot of ways. Do you remember of course you remember Masai Ujiri, like you're better than that guy, to JV about Andre Drummond. Yeah. I feel that way about Poeltl today. It's like, you're better than that guy, buddy. About a lot of different bigs.
He's better than a lot of guys he lines up against. It's true. That was Caitlin and I got a lot of guff for our coverage of Myles Turner, but we did really in-depth work, and we said like he is the point of failure in a lot of this stuff, and the things that made him really good, or the expectation of how impactful his defense was, I think for a few years had been a mirage. And while in terms of alignment and getting the most out of spacing at times, having a big who can shoot, yes, that does great things. But the Pacers just made a bet on Zubats, who is, he's obviously not Jakob Poeltl, but a facsimile they are of each other. They wanted to move off of Myles Turner because they saw that in the finals, Myles continued to be a point of failure. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, we're talking about Cat. Myles couldn't guard Cat, and Myles didn't play as much. And he had a great series against the Cavs and the Bucks. But it was a big thing. I will say before we move on to anything else, anybody, beer. Basketball can be stressful, people. But your choice of beer, it doesn't have to be. Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment. When the mountains turn blue, the beer is as cold and refreshing as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold certified for a smoother finish. You want some beer? Make it Coors Light. They didn't even tell me to say that. I'm just ad-libbing right now. Make sure to celebrate responsibly. You must be of legal drinking age. That's right. No underage drinking. Not co-signed by the Pull Up Tray Ball Don't Lie podcast. And of course, if you want to find Coors Light near you, visit CoorsLightShop.ca. They will sort you out beer. Lewis, anything else on Biggs or a Jakob before we talk about, I guess, the back end of the impact?
One thing I think that's really interesting, you've mentioned a couple times, hunting. The league has changed so much. 10 years ago, LeBron James invented the concept of hunting a player on defense. He didn't actually, but it became a much larger part of the game. It became a much larger part of the game, and it was Smalls. He frequently would have guys. He would choose his screener based on the defender. It's a real thing. And that became, a much larger part of basketball over the last, 5 years ago. Very much became, obviously that's important. Very much became Smalls coming up to screen because they wanted to put the small in the action. It has become in the last 2 years or so hunting bigs. You want bigs in the action. The New York Knicks used to fight tooth and nail in the playoffs to get a center guarding Karl Anthony Towns so that Karl Anthony Towns could screen, putting a center in the pick and roll on the defense. It has changed so much in terms of hunting a big. And I agree. Bigs, you want them in the paint. In a lot of ways, the league evolves to what it's always been. You don't want bigs switching out on the perimeter these days. You want them in the paint, protecting the glass, protecting the rim, doing what bigs did 30 years ago, 50 years ago. And a lot of defensive schemes, like if you look at the San Antonio Spurs, and a lot of their modern defense is just, let's keep Wemby in the paint at all times, one-man zone. Everyone else passes guys around. They can be super aggressive because he's there behind them. And in terms of hunting, this is just where I wanted to sort of bring it back to Poeltl. We've talked a lot about his offensive skills, and I think he's obviously a superior offensive player to defensive one at this point in his career. He really has been for basically since his second stint with the Raptors. Where's his defense since he came back? How helpful has that been?
I mean, since he came back, pretty good. I think and also it helps playing with Scotty Barnes, because Scotty, the level he's gotten to defensively, I mean, Scotty is a best friend to any big in the front court. Your job in terms of range, in terms of rebounding, in terms of, shot blocking or changing shots just becomes far easier. Scotty bothers catches, he bothers dribbles, he bothers everything. Jakob has been pretty good. He's never been, not never been, actually. When he was between ages 24 and 28, his feet, I think, were some of the quickest at the center position among 7+ footers. They're not that quick anymore, but he's on balance and he looks healthy. He's on balance and comfortable, which means he's not blindingly quick. But he is a guy who I think you can expect to not allow a straight line blow by. He's going to make someone curve their drive around him. He's not just going to give up something up because his flips got hit or his hips got flipped or something like that. Yep. And that's important when you play with guys like Scotty Barnes and when CMB comes back, CMB, because those guys are great in ground coverage and rotational rim protection. And Jakob can filter back into the play. Andy says they told us he was a hidden defensive player of the year level player when he's coming from San Antonio. I do remember that. Even this year, some of the catch-all stats say that Jakob was a top 10 defender, which is, it's absurd. But Jakob, I think he's really holding up defensively. And also there's some of just that baseline big man stuff, which is hey, be big and help close out the glass. Hey, be big and step in the lane. Because again, Wemby, it's in the shots that teams don't take. It's in the shots they don't take. Some games he has one block, and you'd be like, how does this guy have one block? Some games it's 9. Some games it's 11.
Yep.
I don't know if he's had 11. I think he has. But Jakob, his size in the lane is imperative to what the Raptors want to do. And also, as Sofia Serrano says, can argue a 4's primary job is to be playable next to a 5. Jakob also lessens the load on the 2 guys who have been playing the center position, both CMB and Scotty, who have been getting bashed and smashed by larger men for like 40 games of the season. And that isn't easy. I'm a guy, when I play pickup, I always get saddled with guarding bigs. It takes a toll, brother. And those guys, it's much worse because, NBA players know how to use their size. Jakob has held up, I think. He's done well.
Way to sneak yourself in there. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Raptors' big rotation, because everyone's like, well, play Trace Jackson Davis. They have like 5 people vying for center minutes right now. It's not just Jakob Poetl, Colin Murray-Boyles, Sandro Mamukelashvili. It's like, well, yeah, they want Scotty Barnes to play a lot of center. Like he's playing alongside Sandro, it's pretty clear that Scotty is really doing the work of the center.
Yep.
They have a lot of guys vying for center minutes, and they have a very versatile sort of stable of abilities in terms of what they can give you. But yeah, Jakob Poetl is the only one who can sort of give what he gives. They clearly missed him. What do you got for us now?
While you're talking, I thought I'd bring this stuff up because there's a couple center things and non-center things in these clips that Trey and I showed. So just keep going.
Yeah, like, I've come around on your passing. To me, what matters more for a big as a creator is what action you toggle between. That's not passing. It's like choosing if you're going to flow into a handoff or flip the side of the floor or that. But to me, that is creation from a big, unless you're like Nikola Jokic. But that's what Jakob Poetl is terrific at in terms of choosing where to toggle to next. Because a lot of plays for the Raptors are not decided by the point guard. They're decided by the big. Something that Sandro Mamukelashvili is actually not a lead at. He's good at closing or attacking a closeout, not good at toggling between actions of a set. And that's why I think RJ Barrett, as we can see in this play, has benefited so much because he is so good as that like third or final third of a possession, just like toggle into a handoff, just like found money. And Jakob knows that. He knows to flow into RJ Barrett when he can, especially on an empty side. Stuff they have missed a lot is for all of Colin Murray-Boyle's strengths as well. Something he has not really been a lead either. I've seen him miss Emmanuel quickly as a shooter because he's just trying to run the possession as it is. It's like, well, you have a shooter right there. Just run a handoff, brother. Center stuff.
Yep. And I think this is the interesting thing. Like Sandro, I don't know if Sandro, maybe I'm being a little bit too in vogue here or a little bit too hipster about it, but I don't think he's played a single minute of center this year. And what I mean by that is like he is occupied, let's say, the 5 position, but Sandro, at least offensively, is never trying to do like quote unquote center things. And offensively, Scotty basically is rarely ever doing quote unquote center things. This is centerless basketball. And this one, like you can see, Scotty is used. This is like Joel Embiid type center play, but they're putting the big Paul Reed out of the paint because Sandro is able to occupy the same way like a shooter, a wing, or a guard would. And so Scotty gets an opportunity to post up a small guard. You wouldn't put Kevin Huerter on a center. You wouldn't download a car, would you? If anybody remembers those old commercials. And he gets to attack, and the big being vacant from the paint and having to stick to Sandro means that RJ gets to slide in, and Cade is the low man, and number 8, I can't remember who that is from Detroit. But also this one too, Scotty is the de facto 5 defensively. Sandro is the big man there, and he's in the strong side corner, and then it becomes the weak side corner. And because they don't have to have Scotty screening, so who's the big? It's Scotty. The other big is in the corner. Paul Reed is out of the paint. you can't make a team not have anyone in the paint. Teams just will not do that. But what you can do is you can put Jamal Shed in the dunker spot, and then the low man is a guard. And these are the types of things that the Raptors don't get to do very often if they have, let's say a rotation of Scotty, CMB, and Jakob Poetl. These would be few and far between. And these are tweaks that obviously we know, the last finals, uh, guys like Andrew Nemhard spent a lot of time in the dunker spot. The Pacers, they'd put Myles Turner in the strong side corner all the time to manipulate help. And, Hartenstein, when he's not on the court, the Thunder were doing that all the time as well. The Raptors don't have access to as much of that fiddling around or anything of that sort. But if they do build a different way, they do get to go look at that kind of stuff. But that kind of stuff is currently a trend. And there are already teams who are figuring out how they want to defend this better. And the league is transitioning towards more two big lineups, when for a while a lot of teams were going one big and they wanted that one big to be a shooter. And the Raptors sticking with their strengths with Jakob Poetl is going to make them a much better team for now. How they build going forward is a very interesting question, and how he factors in, obviously, as a guy on contract is very interesting. And it brings into what you were saying about it being a very competitive front court for a team where everyone was saying, like, we need to improve the front court, which, is kind of funny.
Yeah. I remember writing about that with the Bucks when I wrote for the Bucks a few years ago, because they were so good at not letting bigs be at the rim, because Giannis ran so many pick and rolls, and they would set them super far away from the rim with Brook Lopez, who would pop. It's like pretty tough to keep a big in the paint when that's the action. But teams are much better at that now, as you say. It's just like stick a wing on Brook Lopez when he's high up there, and it's pretty easy to still contest a shot and sort of determine that. Something that will never go out of vogue is what Jakob Poetl gives you. Being available as a cutter, he's so good at those little cuts in small spaces, finishing when he touches the ball, putting your body on a guy, defensively, offensively, screening. Those are skills that will never be schemable. It's just that matters in basketball. Height will always matter in basketball. I never thought I'd come back to just being a points per game guy, but here I am. It's like, put the ball in the bucket, baby.
Go ahead.
No, and that's, I think, where I wanted to come back to, because, we talk about league-wide basketball. And you know what? You might have convinced me a little bit that center positions define.
I'm also lame for that,
the versatility.
I'm lame for that. Like, it's lame that this is like a salary cap problem, basically.
Yeah. And it's because it's almost, to blend our points, it's because you can get value in so many different ways that it becomes a means of team construction. But to sort of bring it back to Jakob, he does things they need. He does things all basketball teams need. Like anyone here who's ever played basketball, having a big dude who is always available to pass the ball to and is in the paint and will finish, that matters. That's useful, and that matters. And it's been, of all the things that have brought the Raptors from their chalk stretch to, wow, they beat a couple good teams, they just punched the Nuggets. It's Poetl giving you those really basic quality skills.
Yeah. I think as well, when we think about the Raptors and like how they achieve things, they want to be, even when they're small, an overtly physical team. They feel very comfortable when they get to do that. And the fact that Jakob is a big man who is not averse to that kind of stuff, even though he's not a huge dunker, even though there is a ton of finesse to his game, he's quite physical. Joe Mazzulla called him a bear last year, one of the most underrated players in the league. And it was because Jakob was on a tear early in that season, similar to where he is now. Just a guy who is hell-bent on securing the ball for his team, tap-outs even. And there's in the same way that the league was trying to move away from small ball handlers, they were. They were trying to move away from small ball handlers into wing initiation, because then you get wings on defense and you shrink the floor defensively. You just have more size, and you don't have to worry about being hunted for 60% of your starting lineup. Great, all that good stuff. You couldn't get away from the fact that those soft skills of organization, and on top of that, like the actual skill sets of pull-up shooting and decision making with a live dribble, just seemed far better in the hands of smaller players. The league tried to get away from big men who were grinders.
Yep.
And while they still aren't paid that much, you just can't get away from that, because statistically, and you can go back to the stats of it, getting an extra possession, changing a shot at the rim, these are some of the most impactful plays that are available ever on the court. And big guys have access to that in a way that nobody else does. And again, if you decide to go smaller, teams got into a bit of a trend a few years ago of saying like, oh, they went small, we have to match that. But I think the trend became like, no, screw that. We're going to stay big. You still have to deal with us.
If you're going to chase the zeitgeist of the league, you better have Steph Curry even better on your roster. I wrote about a three-point guard lineups for 538 a long time ago.
The Hornets,
it was through the lens of like,
really great.
Thank you. It's through the lens of like what can define the zeitgeist of the league. And so much of team building then was exactly what you said. Chasing small rosters, downsizing clutch minutes, but it wasn't because I don't know, Channing Frye was so significant.
Yeah.
It was because LeBron James and Steph Curry were so impactful that their abilities made possession grinding less meaningful for those specific teams. And if you were trying to beat those teams, you could not be chasing them. The Houston Rockets almost beat the Warriors. They were not chasing the Warriors. They were building in their own really, really unique way with like tons of isolation, super unique basketball. And I agree with you. The Raptors are not a team that is defining the zeitgeist right now. And we can talk all we want about maximizing who they are in the future. But for maximizing who they are today, it's not chasing the zeitgeist. It's not downsizing. It's having Jakob Poetl on the floor.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice little circle on the conversation, which we still have to keep going just a little bit. We have another ad. We have another ad read, one, but two. It's a great point. The Raptors, Lewis, grab the shovel, dig with me, right? Let's dig together. They need Jakob out there. The team is as it is, and they are a team that if they, again, it's exciting to be a zeitgeist defining team. The Raptors were under Nick Nurse.
Yes.
They pushed a lot of stuff forward that stayed and became really important in the league. They won a championship doing a little bit of it, but they also won 48 games and got bounced in the first round, doing things that would become incredibly important. And the Raptors now, I don't know if they'll have a more successful playoff run than that team, but that this team will probably stay together with a little bit more room for upwards mobility, or at least one would hope, than the other team did. And Jakob Poetl is part of that. If they move off of him, they have to be really intelligent about how they do. And that's because he's good, and you can't get away from what he's good at. Also, I want to discuss a little bit about the backup guard positions, Jamal Shed and Jakob Poetl. I know, obviously, we have a lot of opinions on that, but I also have to say, I have to put a new thing on screen. There it is, little iGaming logo. Everyone, this segment is a presentation of TunyBet Online Sportsbook and Casino. Thousands of slot games, live casino at your fingertips, and a sportsbook made for Ontario. Get your game on with TunyBet. TunyBet is licensed and regulated by the AGCO and iGaming Ontario, 19 plus Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Okay, Lewis, I was poking around, as I always do, on betting lines. The Eastern Conference, the Atlantic Division winner, TunyBet, the Boston Celtics are minus 286. New York Knicks are plus 200. The Raptors are plus 14,900. Bit of a long shot there. It's not seeming likely. My question for you is, who do you want the Raptors to face in the playoffs? And this, I don't care what I think about this. I care what you think about this, and a short version.
I think any of the teams below them, they have a really, really good shot at beating. They can't face those teams. Like, that would take the Cavs falling all the way out. But I think of the teams above them, the Knicks, terrible matchup. The Celtics, terrible matchup. But yeah, I'm with you, Rolls. I think the Cavs or the Pistons, which also seems pretty much impossible, are not terrible matchups for the Raptors.
I am super worried about a matchup with the Cavs.
With James Harden makes it much harder.
And I know people have this idea about like who James Harden is in the playoffs, but I'll tell you this much. James Harden is a far more adaptable offensive player than he used to be. He goes to a wider variety of spots on the floor. He's less live or die. And I remember a series against the 76ers where everyone talked about James Harden. And he didn't even play that well, but just his presence on the floor bent it so that Maxey was like absolutely mashing the hell out of them. But I don't like any of the options. The Raptors are they are the demarcation. They are the team that splits like truly strong teams in the East. And I think the rest of them, good teams, and then obviously interesting.
They truly are the fifth best team in the East.
Yes, they are. They truly are the best team in the East. I do want to ask this question, though, because there's a couple really great things here. Sophia Serrano says, grinder big and organizing small guards. It's like dire wolves and dragons coming back to the world. Great. Love that. Wonderful. And then, there's an argument about Jamal Shed and how important he is. But I think this brings us to the Jamal Shed, Jakob Poetl thing. ND says, the Raptors, obviously, Jamal Shed has been unplayable versus good teams, and I'm seeing you guys talk about Boucher. There's a sign Boucher thing going on. And then Donkey says he's a backup point guard, but there's no third-string point guard to try if Shed is struggling or if there's an injury, which I think is poignant. Jamal Shed has been able to play through basically everything. His skill set is so important. The aspect of what he has to bring is so important to these Raptors that the Raptors just have to go there. But teams who make Jamal Shed shoot shots instead of knife middle and pass the ball off, those are the good teams. And the Raptors, they've had a tough time navigating this. A switch, perhaps, is a reliance on Emmanuel Quickley, who has been a little more patient in the middle of the floor lately, a little bit better in terms of playmaking. I still want him to hunt threes a little bit more effectively. And one, Jakob Poetl. What do you make of those two going into the playoffs?
Jacoby and Emmanuel?
Jacoby and Jamal, sorry.
Jacoby and Jamal. One quick thing. Emmanuel had a step through the other day. I'm not sure I've ever seen that.
Yes, he did.
He missed the layup, but he had
he had a step through into a hook pass to Jakob in the lane the other day too.
Yep. I've quite enjoyed his game recently.
Nice.
I think Jamal actually is a really interesting sort of capper on the Jakob Poeltl conversation in that he seems less benefited by Poeltl because he is such a home run passer. And Poeltl is great at turning a single into a run. And Jamal Shed is great at hitting a dinger or striking out. And, he does not progress the play. He is going to hit the shooter in the pocket, whether he delivers layups in a way that a lot of other guards aren't able to do on the Raptors. I think Jakob Poeltl, he helps everyone. He helps, I think, Shed less. The Raptors also have been better with Shed and not Poeltl, net rating of almost 4, than with both of them together, net rating under 1 this season. Obviously, that's pretty
Can I give you a stat?
Driven by numbers. Pardon me?
Yes, give Jamal me a stat. Shed on ball. Jakob is a screener. Again, 0.85 points per chance. Minuscule.
That's what I'm saying.
Look at you. Look at little eye test plus data.
Yeah. But Jacoby, though, I'm liking for the playoffs. He is less elastic. And if the jumper's falling, which it has been, and I think that's the only thing that's changed from earlier in the year. He's
Yes.
just hitting the shots now. Then he gives you a lot more that can't be, that won't change versus a good or a bad team. He is going to defend the heck out of the ball. He's going to force turnovers. And if he's going to hit threes too, I don't think it really matters the quality of the team he faces. He's still going to contribute positively in a lot of ways.
He is, I know there are loftier expectations for where he eventually ends up, but Trey and I have made this, I mean, you listen to the podcast, so you probably heard me make the Iman Shumpert thing too. Iman Shumpert was part of like good teams as kind of like a bit player, and I don't even think Iman's defense was as good as Jakobi's is right now. Jakobi, I think, he's a very limited offensive player insofar as what we've seen. If people believe the potential is there, I won't begrudge you, but his defense, not only now, but when it comes to playoffs and playing press, because the Raptors are going to be, it's not always going to be press. They're going to be mixing those looks. And for the same reason that against Jamal Murray yesterday, both Jamal and Jakobi are just boxing him out on inbounds. And they're like, we want to move the ball elsewhere. Jakobi's their best press defender. It's not Jamal. Jakobi's just, if the threes are going down, great.
Yep.
If they aren't,
better defender.
You still get the defense. And also, who's replacing him anyway? Is it going to be like a great shooter? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's worth saying. Will Smith says he's their seventh guy that they can rely on. I trust him more than Mamu versus good teams. The thing is, this will be the last conversation. Mamu provides the Raptors with alignment in a way that Jakobi doesn't. And alignment is really important to a team like the Raptors, who have basically no pull-up shooting and don't do very well in catch-and-shoot stuff. That's really the interesting thing. Like Mamu, what he gets to play is very, very comfortable for what the Raptors need and what the Raptors want from him and what he wants from himself, honestly. And I am really interested to see how the Raptors are able to, I guess, put themselves in a position to not rely just on catch-and-shoot triples and sit but to be able to create in other avenues and other ways. Anything else before we get out of here, Lewis?
No, this was really, really enjoyable. I mean, Poeltl coming back changed the team, changed the conversation around the team, not just for himself, but for the guards. I mean, for Jakobi, for Shed, it's really interesting. As always, just a delight to be here with you. And I think when they're healthy, when they have their 9, because I think their rotation in the playoffs will be 9, with Shed, Mamukelashvili, Walter, and of course Murray Boyles off the bench. We haven't seen them. We haven't seen their healthy 9. I don't think all at their best playing in a single game. Gives them a lot of versatility in a lot of different ways. Not at the guard spot, mind you, but certainly at the forward and big spots. It'll be really, really fascinating to see how Darko manages their alignments and their sets and their lineups and all that stuff.
Yeah. And here's another thing too, just quickly. If they can funnel the ball to the right players on the break, it could be transformative for them, because they've done a decent job.
Two guys.
Even yeah, and Scotty more than anybody, honestly, just making sure that Scotty is moving up the floor is so important. Because even Jakob, honestly, Jakob out in transition, if they can get him going up there.
He's got a lot of points in transition recently.
Catch middle, keep it going. I think that stuff is really important. We'll see if they're able to do that. Obviously, I don't think the frequency will be the same in the playoffs, but in terms of like if they can bump that efficiency, that would be pretty important for them. All right. Thank you to everybody for tuning in with us. We appreciate it very much, from myself and Lewis. Just thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, Lewis, thanks for hopping on with me, brother. Everyone, whether you got into this in the morning or at night, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Have a blessed day, and goodbye.